Right. Okay. In our previous lesson, we had actually provided quite a number of methods in our employee class. We had two constructors, the default and the non-default constructors. We had the get name method, the get salary method, the change salary method, the bread method, which allows us to read the name and salary of an employee through the keyboard. I had actually indicated that we are going to look at two different read methods. One which uses the read line method in the buffer data class, and the other one which uses the methods which are defined in the scanner class. Right, so this is the one which uses the read line method in the buffer reader class. So I am now going to provide another read line method which uses the methods which are defined in the scanner class. I'm going to call it sRead, where S is standing for scanner. It doesn't take any arguments. And then here what I need to do is first thing I need to create a scanner object. Maybe I can call it S, then new scanner. Alright, then I pass system.in as an argument, system.in. Right, then scanner is not defined in the standard java.lang package, so I need to import it because it's defined in the java.util package. Now that I have a scanner object, what I can do is I can now have my prompt, so I'm just going to copy that prompt. Right, then after specifying my prompt, then I now need to read the name. So I'm simply going to say this dot name is equal to s dot next line. Right, then after that I have the prompt which prompts the user to enter the salary. Then the user types the salary, then it's stored in this salary variable. S dot next double, that's the appropriate S not salary, S dot next double. Right, so we are done. This is the sRead method. Right, another important method that we need to add is a toString method, which basically converts an object into its equivalent string representation. Right, let me just maybe try to print an object using the print line method. Maybe I just try to print E1. Let me just try to print that object. Enter name, then I just enter something, enter salary, I enter something. Right, so the last statement where I'm saying print E1, it is giving me this output. This is not what I was expecting to see. Right, so for you to actually print an object using the print line method, you need to provide a toString object which converts an object into a string, which we can now maybe pass as an argument of the print line method and print so that we can actually see the actual details of that particular object. So let me go back to employee class. Then I provide a toString method. So public, this is a public method. It returns a string, right? toString, because we are saying we want to convert an object into a string, so it is supposed to return a string. Right, then we say return. You can use any format that you want of the string. I'm going to do this. Then I say name, then plus, then I terminate that, this dot name, or this dot get name. So here I can use either this dot name or this dot get name, then plus, then in quotes, salary, then colon, then a space, then I say plus this dot get salary, right, and then plus that bracket. I terminate this, right. Let me now try to run the code. I'm trying to print this object E, right. It's saying there are some errors. I think let me check. Here it's saying the method getName is not defined. Oh, okay, we are supposed to use getName here, and then get salary there. I don't know how I get salary there. Then here we are supposed to have this plus outside the bracket. Then here I need to remove another pair of brackets. Right, I think my code is now correct. So let me try to run it. It's prompting me to enter name. Then I enter the name, enter salary. Right, now we are getting what? We are getting the details of the object. This is the name, and this is the salary, right, enclosed in those square brackets. There is something that you really need to take note of. Here we simply defined the toString method. We simply defined it here, but unlike other methods that we have defined, the get salary, the get name, the sread, bread, and so on, all those methods were being invoked or called explicitly, but the toString method is not invoked or called explicitly. It is called implicitly by the system when you pass an object as an argument of the print or print line method. It will just go and check for the toString method, and then it invokes it, and then it is actually implemented. So you don't need to call the toString method. That's all about the toString method. Then let's add maybe a method which compares objects for equality. Let's add a method which compares objects for equality. But you need to recall that there are some methods which are in the superclasses, like the ultimate superclass of all the classes in Java, that is the Java object, the Java class, the object class rather. It basically has this toString method. So when we redefine it in our class, what that means is the one that we are defining in our class is going to override the one which is in the superclass, right? So we also have an equals method in the object class, and this is the method that we would want to override, right? So we just call it equals, and this method which is defined in the superclass object, it takes an object as an argument. It takes an object that is an object of type object or an object of class object as an argument, right? Then what we need to do is we need to create an employee object here, like maybe E. Then we assign it to O, right? But we can't assign an object, right, of type object to an employee variable. We have to cast it into what? We have to cast it into an object. Then after casting it into an object, we now need to return what are we supposed to return here? We want it to return either true or false, depending with whether the two objects that we are comparing are equal. If they are equal, it's supposed to return true. If they are not equal, then it is supposed to return false. So what we need to do is we need to compare the salaries, like I said earlier on, of the two objects to check if they are equal. Then we compare the names to check again if they are equal. If the names are equal and the salaries are equal, then the two objects are what are equal. Otherwise, they are not what? They are not equal, right? Then the other thing, before maybe you start comparing, you might maybe need to check the class of these objects. Might need to check the class of these objects. So maybe I can remove this return, and then maybe have an if statement to check whether the two objects that we want to compare are in the same class. Because I mean, if they are not in the same class, it would be actually obvious that they are not equal. Because I mean, it wouldn't make any sense to compare objects which are not in the same class. So you might just need to check first. So we can actually say if this dot get class, right? There's a method which is called get class, which allows us to get the class of an object. So it returns the class of an object. So here we are returning the class of the object which I earlier on referred to as the implicit object, right? So we want to know the class of this object. Since the class that is returned is a string, we need to use the dot equals method, which is defined in the application programming interface, and then we are comparing it to the class of b dot get class, right? If they are equal, that's when you now need to check if their salaries are equal and also if their names are equal, right? So Otherwise, you are supposed to just return what? To return false. You are supposed to return false. Here you now need to return what? Return. Then you do the comparisons. So you can say this dot get name, right? So you take the name of the implicit object, and then you compare it to the name of object B, right? Then after that, you also need to compare the salaries, where you simply say this dot get salary. Here we use double equal sign because we are comparing numbers. B dot get salary, like that. And then we make sure that we add a semicolon at the end there, and make sure that we don't have any problem with brackets. Let me just check if my brackets are matching. Right, we are supposed to be having a bracket which closes this one here, and then here everything is now correct. So I can now go and test. So what this method does is it takes an argument, right? And the argument is going to be what? Is going to be an employee object. Then we compare it to another object, and then since it's a method which is returning a Boolean value, we expect it to return true if the two objects are equal, that is, if they have the same salary and same name. And we expect it to return false if the name, either the names or either the salaries are different. Right, so let's now call or invoke this method. So what I can do is I can maybe just compare these two objects. So here I already have object E with those details, right? Then I'm going to capture another what? I'm going to capture another object through the keyboard, and then after that I do the comparison rather, right? So I then say here E1 dot equals, right? Then I pass what? E as an argument. If the two are equal, it's supposed to return true. They are not equal, it is supposed to return false. Right, let me now run the program. Right, my computer is freezing. Let me just wait a bit. Right, it is terminated, so I have maybe to restart the program. program. Let me close these other files. Alright, then I run, enter name, Taurai, enter salary. Alright, it's giving me false. Let me test one more time, perhaps maybe with the same values. So the name is Sanamwe Ngoni, and the salary 34.50.90, 34.50.90. I am also getting false. What is the problem here? Okay, the problem is that the salary is being modified here. So eventually the salary of E1 will be 2,500, not this initial salary. So I'm going to run the program one more time, and then I capture 2,500 instead of 34.50.90. Alright, 2,500 .00. Right, and I'm now getting what? I'm now getting true. I'm now getting true. Right. So this is basically how you can define your own Java classes. So what I would want you to do is I would want you to design your own class. I would want you to design your own class. Right. This class is supposed to be called student. Right. And the state, student name, reg number, student name, reg number, program, then the fees that you are supposed to pay per semester, then the actual amount that you have paid, fees paid, the actual amount of fees that you have already paid. Right, then what I would want you to do is I would want you to define the following methods to manipulate student objects. Right, I would want you to add getter methods which allow us to return all the instance variables. So we are supposed to have a get name, get reg number, get program, get fees, get fees paid method. Then I would also want you to add a method which reads so here I said we need to have getter methods. Then we need to have a read method which allows us to read the details of a student through the keyboard. We need to have an equals method which compares students for equality. Then we also need a toString method. We need to add a toString method. Then you need to add a balance method, which basically calculates the outstanding fees for a particular student. Because here we are given that maybe if you are doing a certain program, like maybe program X, you are supposed to pay maybe $600. So far you have paid $300. So it is supposed to calculate the balance and return the balance, right? Then you are supposed to add a method which allow the student to pay fees. So you can maybe just call it pay. But your method one is supposed to check the fees which has already been paid, if any, right? And then also make sure that whatever amount is being paid plus what has already been paid doesn't exceed the actual amount of fees that the student is supposed to pay, right? So I also want you to define a method which send the details of a student details to an output file, right? Then I also want you to read the details of a student from a file, right? Here we are saying read through the keyboard, but now I want you to read from a file. So you can actually have maybe a file which is properly formatted, such that maybe we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. The first column it will be containing the student's name, second column the registration number, third column program, fourth column fees, last column the fees that is already been paid. So you can actually read maybe one row at a time, and then you initialize your instance variables with the values that you'll be reading from the file. Then you need to add the constructors, right? You need to add the constructors which initialize all the instance variables. So we need to have a default constructor and a non-default constructor. Then after that you need to define a main class. You need to define a main class and invoke each of the methods, that you are defined. So this is the task that I would want you to do, and when you are done you need to submit your solutions on Tsime. That is before next week on Monday. On Monday you should have finished this assignment. All right.